Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Janna Vallabha Girivardhari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Brajjana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajjana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Shambhishapad Paramahamsa Parivarjagacharya Ishtottara Shuddha Shishama Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Kantaraj srimadbhagavatam Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay. So fourth canto, Creation of the Fourth Order. Chapter 23, Maharaj Prithu's going back home. On text 9. Sanat Kumaro Bhagavan Yad Ahadyatmikam Param Yogam Tanaiva Purusham Abhajat Purusharshabha Sanat Kumaro Bhagavan Yad Ahadyatmikam Param Yogam Tinaiva Purusham Abhajat Purusharshabha Sanat Kumaro Bhagavan Yad Ahadyatmikam Param Yogam Tenaiva Purusham Abhajat Purusharshabha Sanat Kumaro Bhagavan Yad ahadhyatmikam param yogam tenaiva purusham abhajat purushashabhaha. Sanat Kumaraha. Sanat Kumara. Bhagavan, most powerful. Yet that which Aha said, Adhyatmikam, spiritual advancement of life. Param, ultimate. Yogam, mysticism. Tena, by that. Eva, certainly. Purusham, the Supreme Person. Abhajat, worshipped. Purusha Rishabhaha, the best of human beings. Translation. Thus, the best amongst human beings, Maharaj Prithu, followed the path of spiritual advancement which was advised by Sanat Kumara. That is to say, he worshipped the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Purport. In this verse, it is clearly said that Maharaj Prithu, practicing the pranayama yoga system, engaged in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead as advised by the saint Sanat Kumara. In this verse, the words Purusham Abhajat Purusharshabha are significant. Purusharshabha refers to Maharaj Prithu, the best amongst human beings, and Purusham refers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The conclusion is that the best man amongst all men engages in the service of the Supreme Person. One Purusha is worshipful and the other Purusha is the worshipper. When the Purusha who worships the living entity thinks of becoming one with the Supreme Person, he simply becomes bewildered and falls into the darkness of ignorance. As stated by Lord Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, Chapter 2, Text 12, all living entities assembled in the battlefield, as well as Krishna himself, were all present in the past as individuals and would continue to be present in the future as individuals also. Therefore, the two Purushas, the living entity and the Supreme Personality of Godhead, never lose their respective identities. Actually, one who is self-realized engages himself in the service of the Lord perpetually, both in this life and the next. Indeed, for devotees, there is no difference between this life and the next. In this life, a neophyte devotee is trained to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And in the next life, he approaches the Supreme Person, Vaikuntha, and renders the same devotional service. Even for the neophyte devotee, devotional service is considered brahmabhuyaya kalpate. Devotional service to the Lord is never considered a material activity. Since he is acting on the Brahmabhuta platform, a devotee is already liberated. He therefore has no need to practice any other type of yoga in order to approach the Brahmabhuta stage. The devotee adheres strictly to the orders of the spiritual master, follows the rules and regulations, and chants the Hare Krishna mantra. It should be concluded that he is already at the Brahmabhuta stage, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. Chapter 14, Text 26. Mam chayo vibhicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samatityaitan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. One who is engaged in full devotional service, unfailing in all circumstances, at once transcends the modes of material nature and thus comes to the level of Brahman. Om Hikyanitivarandasha Kananjana Shlakaya Chakshulan Meditam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Kritavachalam Pangam Langayate Gatim Yakripatamaham Vande Shri Gurun Diditadinam Vancha Kapdrubhishcha Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Translation again. Thus the best amongst human beings, Maharaj Prithu, followed that path of spiritual advancement which was advised by Sanat Kumar. That is to say, he worshipped the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. So, it is, the verse and purport is saying that the best of human beings, or the best of human beings, the best of men, amongst all men, engages in the service of the Supreme Person. So, naturally someone may, naturally or unnaturally, someone may think, okay, well, that means if I'm engaging in the service of the Supreme Person, then that means I must be one of the best men, right? Or I am one of the best amongst men. And we could say that that's one of the downfalls of religious people or spiritual people, or those who adhere or those who subscribe themselves to a particular group, is that the individuals individually within that group, they think, oh, we're the best amongst people. And similarly, the group itself makes that point, that we're the best. So individually they're thinking they're the best, and also collectively they're thinking they're the best, just because they're engaging in the service of God, or the service of Krishna. And we see that that's a problem in practically like a lot of different groups, that they have this mood. And and based on this particular mood, you could say what's the underlying you could say fuel that is fueling this mood, and that is pride. People are thinking, I am great. I'm the best amongst so many groups, and that is against any real spiritual tradition's values. That pride, it goes against the very core of any real spiritual teachings. This pride thing. So it's interesting because it's not a pride that a materialistic man has per se, or materialistic woman has per se, but it is a pride that is developed in spiritual circles. And like, for example, there was a woman, and anyway, she was part of the Jehovah's Witnesses, and I do not know too much about the Jehovah's Witnesses. Jehovah Witnesses, yeah. But they are a Christian group, and I'm not exactly sure what differs them from other Christian groups, but there must be something that differs them from other Christian groups, because they're not part of other groups. So that means there's a difference. And one thing that they do well, though, for sure, is that they're out there They're everywhere. You go down to the boardwalk on any given day, and they're there. They have there's 2 men or 2 women sitting there practically every day on the little chairs, and they have their display with all their books, pamphlets. They make this pamphlet. It's called, what is it called? Anyways, I'm forgetting now. But, Watchtower, yeah. They have many little booklets they put together, and Bibles there and everything. And they're out there preaching. So they're there. They're at the airport. Interesting enough, they have a little designated area where they could be. They're at the beach. They're at the different colleges. They're practically wherever you go. They're there. Now, how successful they are in distributing their literature, I don't know, because they're kind of they're the literature distributors who are very not aggressive. Like we would be considered extremely aggressive to them. They just sit there, and they literally wait for people to walk up. They don't give out a card. They don't say, oh, hello. I mean, they might say hello, but even that, but they're just like, I've never seen them actually say, oh, hey guy, here you go. Whereas we, we're very up and but nonetheless, they're out there. So they're actually, if we could do that, it'd be amazing. Imagine we had book tables all over like that. So, but in one particular case, at least, I heard this story that there was that in one of their churches, one of the priests, they were criticizing the Hares, criticizing the Hare Krishnas. And they were saying this and that and so many things. God knows what they were saying about us, about the Hare Krishna people. But they're definitely critical. Sometimes they do that. Different groups, though, just like we may, within the Hare Krishna movement, will say, okay, this is how then personalists are wrong, right? This is how different groups are wrong. So they do that. Okay, so they're doing that with us. And then one woman was there, and she was thinking that, the priest is criticizing the Hare Krishna so much, there must be something good about them. So she looked into Hare Krishna movement, and she became a devotee. She said, they're criticizing, okay, let's go to the temple. So she gave up being a Jehovah's Witness, and she became a Hare Krishna. Interesting. But whether it's them or whoever, the tendency is to think, okay, we're great and everyone else is not great. So when it's saying that, like the best among men, those who worship Krishna, okay, fine, it does say that, Krishna says that, but still, nonetheless, devotees are humble. Devotees are supposed to be humble, not think, okay, hey, we're the best here. We're the best of all religions. So we should be humble, and that's very important, because that's what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he taught. He wanted us to be humble. When he went to go preach to Prakashananda Saraswati, he was very humble. What did he do? Did he, walk in there and start smashing and philosophically smashing and metaphysically smashing them? No, what did he do? Does anyone remember? I'm sure they do. Who remembers what he did? He sat by the place where they washed their feet. Because there's a place in the temple, right? They wash their feet and then they go into the temple. Because all the sannyasis are walking around, no shoes. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sat there. And then they said, please, come in and don't sit. It's an unclean place. Please come in. And you can imagine it's a very humble place because, it's not a great place. It's where everybody washes their feet. So then he went in, and of course he was showing his effulgence, right? So the Mayavadis, Prakashananda Saraswati and his followers, very attracted. Oh, look at this, because they're attracted to the impersonal, right, light. Like they say, Om Narayana Namaha. They say that to each other because once you take sannyasa, it's understood. Okay, you reach the Narayan platform. But anyway, so he preached to all of them, But he was very humble in his preaching, starting and throughout. And through his explanation of the philosophy of Krishna consciousness, he converted Prakashananda Saraswati and all of his followers. It's a huge conversion. Thousands of them. Amazing. He's very humble. There's so many cases of that. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, like within Chaitanya Mangal, it says that he was traveling to Gaya from Navadvip. He was going to Gaya, and then, of course, in Gaya he met Ishvara Puri, his guru. But on the way to Gaya, he was traveling with some Brahmins. And those Brahmins visited a particular town in which there were other Brahmins living there. And those particular Brahmins living in the town, it said that they followed the behavior which was normal to the state in which they were, but the Brahmins with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu became critical of them. Just like Pundarik Vidyanidhi, he became critical of the pujaris of Jagannath Puri. And why did he become critical? Because when you offer the deities, when you offer clothes that are not washed, they're starchy, and it's considered not great, right? Even us, right? When we first get a set of dhotis and kurtas, if they're cotton, they're really starchy. You see saris too, they're really starchy. So we wash them first, and they look better. And I even think that they're considered impure if they're not washed. So, but the pujaris, that's what they would offer to Jagannath, Baladev Subhadra, for whatever particular reason. So Pundarik Vidyanidhi, he became critical towards them. And what happened? Said that Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra, they appeared in a dream. And what did they do to Pundarik Vidyanidhi? Like this. And he woke up and looked in the mirror or whatever. He had some obvious marks on his face from Jagannath. So, in the point he was making that I like this, that they do this. You don't have to be critical. I like this. This is their devotion towards me. So, anyways, these Brahmins who were with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they became critical of these other Brahmins. And then what happened? So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he said, all of a sudden he got a fever. Said he got a fever and he got really sick. And what did he say? A similar thing that Krishna said, right? Needed the dust from devotees' feet to cure his headache. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, I need the water that has washed a Brahman's feet, because I need to drink that and then I'll be better. So then it says in the Chaitanya Mangal, as we were reading yesterday, it said that immediately a Brahman offered his feet to be washed. And and then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu drank that. And then he was cured. So the Brahmins who were with him understood Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's great affection for Brahmins in general, and specifically these Brahmins in this case. And they apologized. They said, please forgive us, we're offensive, this and that, disrespectful. So in other words, we see from here that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is very humble. I mean, who will drink somebody's foot water? Who will do that? I mean, you have to be humble to do that. I mean, sometimes people have a hard time bowing down to somebody, right? Like there's this devotee, and anyway, she's a good devotee, and I don't want to, seem too critical. And I'm not going to say her name, obviously, but anyways, the interesting mood she developed. But the mood she developed was that she said, I don't bow down to any sannyasis. And she said, because I don't know, I don't know, if they're following or if they're really sannyasis. I just bow down to my guru. She has faith in her guru. Because whatever she's been cheated, she feels throughout the years or something. But Krishna, he always appreciates this humble mood. You could say, even if whether you know they're following or not, you get the credit for bowing down. And if you don't bow down, then you don't get the credit. You don't get the humble credits, which are very important to have. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Krishna, they really appreciate that mood of humility. And when it says best here, again, yeah, okay, fine, it says these things, but we should be humble about them. So then Srila Prabhupada, within the purport, he says that there's the Purusha is worshipable, and there's the Purusha is the worshipper. And when a living entity who is meant to be the worshipper, means living entity who is meant to worship Krishna, starts to think that they are Krishna, that is darkness, that is ignorance. And Prabhupada quotes the verse from the Bhagavad Gita. This pride, it's like in Chaitanya Charitamrita it says that when one is crossing the ocean of material existence, one has to be careful not to be devoured by sharks. And these sharks come in different forms. So one of the forms that the sharks come in is the form of impersonalism. The form of pride. That's a shark. And sharks, they're deadly. We're not talking about, some tamed shark at SeaWorld that you walk by and look in the aquarium and, oh, look at the cute shark, right? With your friends and family, look at that cute shark. Or we're not talking about when people who have too much money and they don't know what to do with it, take a flight to Mexico and hop on a boat and cruise out on the coast some miles and get into a cage or aquarium, however they do that, and they drop it down into the sea, drop it down into the ocean where they're protected by the cage, and then the boatmen, they throw out a bunch of fish, different forms of fish, whatever it is, and then sharks, a whole bunch of sharks start swimming around your cage that you're in. In other words, that's a protected situation, provided nothing goes wrong. It's not funny, actually. It's really scary. It's terrifying. You're out. People go out vacationing sometimes, and then get attacked by. It's actually a complete nightmare. So we're not talking about that. We're talking about deadly sharks, where if you come in contact with them, you're in trouble. They're hungry. They're looking for lunch. They're deadly. You're in trouble. So pride is like that. And similarly, Prabhupada's talking about impersonalism. So he quotes Bhagavad Gita, that famous verse, right? Never was there time where I did not exist, where you did not exist, where these kings did not exist, and we're individuals in the past and we're individuals in the future. And Prabhupada, within that purport, he quotes Nityo Nityanam Chaitanas Chaitananam. So there's so many eternals. Prabhupada sometimes explains like that. There's so many eternals, and amongst all those eternals, there's one supreme eternal who is maintaining all the other eternals. So these people who claim that I am God, you are God, we're all God, things like that, what are they maintaining? That's the question. What are they maintaining besides their false conceptions? And besides their, false conceptions that they're God. What are they really maintaining? If you really look at it, they couldn't maintain themselves. Just, remove all their followers, remove all their money, and put them out in the desert with some wild wolves and see how well they can maintain themselves. You can't maintain themselves. But they claim to be God. So it's strange, actually. And you could say that, for many people it sounds insane that how can someone claim to be God? You're making the sun rise, you're making the moon, wane, you're controlling the weather, right? This is just, for a lot of people it just seems insane. But the amazing thing is that through Shankaracharya's teachings and very eloquent teachings and so many acharyas in that line, they have come up with a philosophy that sounds attractive and good. And nowadays, of course, most of them aren't strict followers of Shankaracharya and they don't know the philosophy. But they come up with all types of different sayings in which the general public becomes attracted to, right? Like, what is it? Yatopat? What is it? Yatomat tatupat, right? As many paths there are, what is it?
No, many paths, many paths, that many ways.
As many paths, that many ways. So whatever your mind comes up with, you know, that's your path. As many as opinions. And there's so many different sayings they come up with. What is it? Tvamasi, you are that, means you are the supreme, you are Brahman, right? We're all one. Yeah, that's there in the Vedas also. We're all one. Anyways, there's so many different things, and it sounds attractive, and one of the reasons why Vaishnavas say this is attractive is because people are rascals. Which means that they don't want to surrender to God. They don't want to surrender to Krishna. Because if we accept, or if the living entity accepts, hey, I'm an individual, and God's an individual, that means I have to serve God. That means I have to engage in bhakti. Which someone doesn't want to engage in bhakti if they're envious of the person. I mean, just like in this world, you could say even in the normal human relationships, if somebody's really envious of somebody, the last thing they want to do is serve them. That's not even the last thing. That's like not even on the list at all. Why? Because it's like this person's like, I hate this person, I don't like this person, I don't stand for this person. Right? The last thing I want to do is, yeah, he should serve me. Last thing I want to do is, cook him something and, bring him in and, serve him, dinner. I mean, people, like, anyways, a lot of people within the world, they don't like certain political leaders, right? So the last thing that they want to do is serve that person. If they were to cook them lunch and serve them, there may be some fear within that personality. This person poisoned me. That's the only reason they want to serve them, to poison them, right? There was a case. Who was that? I don't know. It was some famous philosopher. I don't know if it was Socrates or something. But there was a time where he was having dinner, and then there was what someone says that, hey, someone put poison in your drink, and they're claiming that his friend did it. And he said, no, I believe he just, accepted the drink, the beverage. And the point is he had trust that this person wants to serve me, this person doesn't want to kill me. Just like if someone was to say, oh, so-and-so, Ramapati, he spiked my drink, this morning, and it's some poison. Yeah. He spiked the Charnamrita because he knew I was the first one who was going to take it. I know he would never do that because he's a Brahmin. Brahmins don't do stuff like that. So yeah, the main point being is that if someone's envious, they don't want to serve them. So similarly, if we're all one, if we're all God, then that means, yeah, I don't have to serve that person. So therefore, it's based. The Vaishnavas say it's based on envy, and also it's just skewing the words of the Vedas to facilitate that. Just like in this chapter 2, text 12, it says we're all individuals, and as Prabhupada says in the purport, that the Mayavadis, they'll say that, well, this is referring to the material side of it. Krishna's saying we're all individuals. He's speaking about material. Krishna's not talking about the spiritual aspect. But Prabhupada makes the point that he is talking about the spiritual aspect because in previous verses he condemned the material body and so many things, calling Arjuna a fool, right? Lamenting for the material body. So why is he going to go back and talk about the material? He's talking about the soul. And mam chayo vibhicharena. So this particular verse is in the Bhagavad Gita, 14:26. One who engages in full devotional service, unfailing in all circumstances, at once transcends the modes of material nature and thus comes to the level of Brahman. So this answer is in relation to a particular question in which Arjuna asked Krishna. Does anyone remember what that question was? Maybe the younger devotees first. Yeah. This verse, Mam Chayo Vyabhicharena Bhakti Yogena Sevate. So this verse is said answering one of Arjuna's questions. Yes.
Well, there's two questions. One is, what are the qualities of one transcendent modes?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. How does one transcend the modes of material nature? How does one, as Prabhupada says in the purport to this 14:26 says, how does one reach the transcendental position? How does one become transcendently situated? So this is the answer. Mam Chayo Vibhicharena. By engaging in devotional service, one becomes transcendently situated. Yeah, unfailing. That's very important. You can't. I engage in devotional service for 6 months and I'm not free from the mode. So. Yeah. And this is an important aspect because, a lot of the times people say, okay, well, how long does it take, right? How long does it take for me to transcend the modes, become transcendently situated? And that will depend on the individual, depend on what they've done in their past lives, what they're doing now, so many different things. But if one surrenders in devotional service, then gradually, and you could say even fast, in a fast way, one could come to the transcendental position. In devotional service, it is meant to be ecstatic, not static. So static, the word, I looked up the word static, and there's different meanings to it, but one meaning is that lacking movement, lacking progress. Static, lacking movement, lacking progress. So devotional service is the opposite. It is not lacking movement. It's moving. It's supposed to be going somewhere, right? Progressing, lacking progression. So we should always remember that we're part of the Hare Krishna movement. Movement is not static. Movement is ecstatic. Movement is it's moving somewhere. And sometimes what we have to do is we have to rejoin the Hare Krishna movement. And I would say even in some cases we have to rejoin the Hare Krishna movement every day. In other words, to remind ourselves, what does it mean to be part of the Hare Krishna movement? Just like people, when they're married, they renew their vows. Doesn't necessarily mean they broke their vows, but it's just hopefully it's just a remembrance that, okay, we've been together for so long, and now we're renewing our vows. They even have ceremonies sometimes. Or anniversaries. What are these anniversaries for? It's, okay, I've been doing this for so long, and now I need to continue. So every day we should feel that we're making progress, and we should feel that we're moving and not static. You should feel like there's some progress being made. And again, people wonder, okay, well, how long does it take? Like I remember we visited Mitch, Bhakta Mitch, before he left. and we went to the place where he was staying, and because of his disease, it seemed that a lot of the times when people have a disease, their mind starts going to some degree, so when they speak, it's not always coherent, and sometimes they don't remember people and things like that. So he remembered us. It was myself, Kanai, and Ramapati, and we asked Mitch, we said, so Mitch, when are you getting out of here? Because we didn't know that in the next week he'd be leaving or something. So when are you getting out of here, Mitch? And he kind of smiled, and he said, well, that depends on you, like, take me out of here. And you could say, oh, well, how long do I have to be how long do I have to be influenced by the modes of material nature? We may ask Krishna, and Krishna, oh, well, that depends on you, how long do you want to... So, of course, Krishna has his desire, which is stronger than ours, for us to be Krishna conscious. But largely, Krishna is waiting for us to develop our desire. And then, once our desire is more developed, or that greed is developed, then we have a better chance of remaining, or first being situated on the transcendental position and being remaining on that. Just like, right, Krishna Bhakti Rasa Bhavatamati, that the price for Krishna consciousness is greed. So we should never, blame Krishna. Oh, okay, well, why aren't I making progress? Why aren't I making advancement? We have to analyze our life and say, okay, how can I develop more greed? And so much of our life, lastly, the thing I will say, is that so much of our life is actually, so much of life in general is actually just timing. So much of it's just timing. Understanding how to operate in such a way whereas you're on time. What I mean by that is, like, for example, in the realm of cooking, if you cook sweet rice too much, you put the rice in too late, the rice will be hard. You put the rice in too early, it will be too soft. If you don't take it off the fire at the right time, it's going to be burnt. If you put the broccoli in with the potatoes, at the end it'll be a mush, right? Gayatri, you're supposed to chant Gayatri morning, noon, evening. There's particular times, sandhyas, in which you chant. People in the realm of marriage, they just don't, it's not like, people that are out at Walmart or something with their girlfriend, and then they, get on the ground and kneel on the ground and say, will you marry me? When they're shopping for random things at Walmart. No, they do that at a nice place, It's timing, that's what I'm talking about, it's timing. In a kirtan, if kartals are speeding up too much, and mridanga is slowing down, and everybody's going different directions, it messes up the kirtan. The beauty of a kirtan, at least materially speaking, is that everything's on time. Not too loud, not too soft. Everyone's on time, making progress. Someone would say, okay, well, I like to take my prasadam at midnight, and I like to sleep till noon, and then I like to chant my rounds. Well, that's not the recommended process. There's certain times to do things. So much of our life and the success of it is just learning how to, learning the right times and how to be timely. So that's an important part of coming to the transcendental position, which, Okay, so does anybody have any questions or comments? Like, Krishna's into timing as well, too, right? When he's on Kaliya, it's not that Krishna just stays there for, 2 minutes, and then he just hops out, and then he's dancing on the hoods, but Krishna's there for 2 hours. And it's not an accident he was there for 2 hours. He was there for 2 hours because he was churning the bhakti, churning the strong emotions within all the devotees, Mother Yashoda, Nanda Maharaj, all the devotees. He was churning that, and then he right on the brink when they're just about to, die, he just, came out, right, jumped out of Kaliya's coils and he started dancing, right? And his dancing was also timely. Wasn't that he was just, right? He was dancing gracefully, timely, however he was dancing. Yeah, all the different talls, and all the beats came from Krishna's dancing on Kaliya. So, yeah, so much of that, timing is important. That's Javita Prabhu's conclusion. All right, let's be on time for the program. Yeah. Okay, so last chance, no questions or comments? Okay. Grantaraj, SrimadBhagavatam ki jai.